Hi there, welcome to my new video. Today I wanted to try something that I've always wanted to do, randomized character creation. But not just any characters, D&D characters. I've made these, which has a list of races, as well as a page expanding on the races, a page of classes, and a special page of random words and items to add a little something something to these characters. Also, at the top of the page, it shows which die to use for each list, so I have my dice here to roll for my characters. I'm just going to do one character for now, just to see how well this goes, but I would like to do more of this in the future. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to do the races first. So I'm going to roll my d20. That's a 9. So 9 is, tiefling. I've actually never made a tiefling before, so this is going to be really fun. Next, I'm going to roll a d12 for my classes. Number 5. A paladin. I've played a paladin before. Paladins are quite fun. And a d10 for the backgrounds. Well, that's a 10. So that's a gladiator. Okay. Now a d20 for this list. $15 fairy tale. Okay, that's fun. I'm gonna roll one of these, d4. And I'm gonna go 1 female, 2 male, 3 non-binary, and then 4, whatever I choose basically. Okay, so that's 1 female. So we have a tiefling paladin with a gladiator background and a fairy tale theme. I'm going to break these down first before we get into it. So first, tiefling, a race that has quote-unquote fiendish blood, which is basically like a human-demon mix. They could have horns or tails, literally any skin color. And because of that, there is a lot of fear and hatred surrounding tieflings in these fantasy settings. And then we got a paladin. Paladins are typically holy warriors who fight for the greater good. Loyal oath makers. They usually pray to whatever god or goddess of their choosing, but they could also be chosen. Or maybe they had to for some reason, for some story reason. Now, a gladiator is basically a fighter with a goal in mind, whether that's fame, fortune, power, just some sort of glory. They can be serious fighters in battle arenas, underground street fighters, famous monster slayer, anything of that nature. Which does give me ideas for this character. The last random word that I rolled is fairy tale. I'm going to use this as a theme for this character's design and backstory. I did make this prompt a little vague on purpose, just to give myself a chance to tie it in with the rest of the character. So, when looking up fairy tales, I wanted to keep in mind some of the key characteristics from the other prompts, such as unable to fit in, being a holy warrior, and someone who fights to gain something. Right off the bat, I saw a few different stories that could work, but I was definitely drawn to the ugly duckling the most. Story about an outcast who learns how to love themselves. Good enough for me. So I took a quick browse on Pinterest, looking up swan-themed armor or weapons. I didn't know if I wanted to go for more of a duck theme or a swan theme, but I definitely preferred the swan imagery. So when I did my tiny sketches, I just tried to mash what I saw from Pinterest, and then I just picked what I liked from the sketches. So I liked both the helmet from the first sketch, but I also liked the mask from the third. I also like the almost feathery looking cape and the knee-length boots. I wanted this character to be almost completely covered, like she's hiding behind her costume. Because even though she's a swan, she still thinks she's a duckling. If I'm being honest, when I'm making a D&D character, I tend to wing it. Like, I already have an idea of what I want my character to look like. So after one or two sketches, I make the final design. They usually have pretty simplistic designs, nothing super complicated, since they'll be going on an adventure and will probably end up changing their design as the story continues. Or maybe they'll die and there's just no point in making a really cool character design if they're all going to die. Also, despite drawing a bunch of D&D characters all the time, most of my characters don't really have complicated armor. Usually it's more like armor's implied to be there. So I'm really not the best at drawing really armored characters. So this was definitely kind of a change. I do have some characters with some armor, but this is definitely the most armor I've ever drawn on one character before. I would like to learn how to draw more armor in the future. Perhaps with doing more of these videos, that would be helpful. But yeah. Also, I've never really drawn a tiefling character before, so this was a lot of fun. Alright, now that I have the line art done in my watercolor sketchbook, we can get started on the colors. I'm going to be painting with these Artist Loft Jelly Gouache paints. They look a little dry and gross right now, but that's okay. Oh, also, since I don't have an official way to randomize the colors right now, I'm just going to be rolling for cool or warm colors. If it's a 1 or a 2, it's warm. And if I roll a 3 or a 4, it'll be cool colors. I rolled a 4, which means cool tones. Now let's go. When it comes to painting, I don't really have a plan in mind, nor do I do it the same way every time. I just keep layering colors down until I'm happy with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You'll see what I mean. While I paint, I wanted to tell her story. Like any good D&D character, she needs her tragic backstory. So watch me paint while I tell you hers. A young tiefling stands on her toes, reaching up with a coin in her hand, trying to get the vendor's attention. While her bright blue skin stands out amongst the crowd, she goes unnoticed, or at least they pretend not to see her. She was too short, her voice too shy, compared to the crowd around her. It was obvious she wasn't going to be helped anytime soon. Her mother was sick, you see, so she wanted to make her feel better with a sweet treat. A simple piece of chocolate, but it was not so simple to get. Fed up with being shoved and ignored, she placed her coin on the cart and picked up one of the little wrapped bonbons. The adults around her didn't notice, but a few pairs of eyes followed her as she scurried away. She always knew when she was being followed, picking up her pace to the edge of town. A sound whizzed past her ear as a small rock barely missed the side of her head. Jeers and taunts being thrown alongside the rocks from the town's children. The small rocks that did manage to land didn't hurt as much as their words did. "You don't belong here," they would shout. "Everyone in town hates you and that demon wench." These words were not new to her. She heard them all her life, from children's mocking to adults' whispers. Running back to her home, past the town's border, she wipes her tears before opening the door to her modest home. Her mother sits on the bed, sewing needle being expertly weaved to mend what looks like a shirt, a tired smile welcoming her home. Her mother was delighted, cutting the chocolate in half to share before praying. She didn't really understand why they prayed or who they prayed to, but her mother tells her it's someone very special. She and her mother lived like that for years. There were many hardships, but they managed to live a fairly peaceful life. As she grew, the childish bullying became less and less, but never seemed to stop. But as long as they kept to themselves, they were fine. Having never known kindness from a stranger, she found it odd as a group of adventurers asked her and her mother about possible monster sightings. They spoke with a gentleness she had never heard before. One of the adventurers even leaned down to speak with her, a gold coin dangling from their neck and a kind gleam in their eyes. As they were leaving, the one she had talked to had flipped a coin. She caught it before it could fall to the floor. She lifted the coin, flat on her palm, as the head of the coin lay facing up. She thought it must have been a mistake. Surely this was not for her. But the adventurers smiled, nodded their head, and left. It was dark when her mother woke her up, whispering that they needed to run, with the faint sounds of screams coming from the village. There were several thumps against the door, shaking the walls, followed by a large crash as the beast broke through. The beast was followed by two adventurers. One of them started to distract the monster, while the other ran to shield the two of them, the gold coin around their neck glowing as they kept their magical shield up. However, it seems to have been made in vain, as their companion is downed by the beast. Now they have the monster's full attention. The shield was breaking now that the monster was attacking them at full force. Feeling a warmth from her pocket, she grabbed the coin that was given to her earlier. It too was glowing. With a surge of bravery, spotting the dagger on the adventurer's hip, she rushed to grab it. She was quick, and she was small, so she was able to get under the monster's belly. Pulling back the dagger, glowing coin still clutched in her other hand, she thrust the dagger as hard as she could into the monster. That's when she noticed the dagger was also glowing. The monster screamed as it was suddenly engulfed in flames. It backed away, withering in pain. In a flash, the adventurer rushed past to finally slay the creature. After putting out the fire and healing their other party members, the adventurer finally explained what happened. That the goddess of good fortune and adventure, Timora, had bestowed these holy powers onto her. That while holding her symbol, a coin facing up, Timora had rewarded her bravery. The whole party of adventurers had cheered for her, even her tearful mother joining in, celebrating her first successful monster battle. Even after everything that happened, this was definitely the happiest she had ever been. She started training after that incident, keeping that same coin on a necklace, with her mother encouraging her every step of the way. The townsfolk had heard of her actions. Despite what they had previously believed, even they had to be grateful. And since then, both her and her mother have been treated a bit kinder. Once her training was finished, she knew it was time to move on, to finally start her own adventure. When she was leaving, the town had all pitched in to gift her a sword, as a thanks for saving them that day, and as an apology. She was also gifted a white cape made to resemble feathers from her mother that was thrown around her shoulders as they said their goodbyes. She left with a wide smile and a heart full of hope as she started her journey. It wasn't until she reached a new town did she remember reality. Suspicious eyes followed her everywhere she went, with those same hushed whispers from years ago, with some even going so far as to hide from her. She needed to do something about her horns or her tail, her skin. That's when something shining caught her eye. A blacksmith shop with a beautiful silver helmet, almost bird-like, with pristine white feathers hanging from it. She smiled, opened the door, and inquired about the price. From then on, she became a well-known monster hunter, going from town to town, slaying beasts with her holy light and receiving hefty rewards. And while the work was hard and the pay was good, she did this for one reason only. and she was reminded of that reason every time she was praised for her victory, every cheer, every look of admiration, and every genuine smile, finally feeling accepted from every town she was able to help. And then having to start all over when she moves on to the next. The hateful whispers will always follow her, but it hurt a little less with every grateful word of thanks she received. And for her, that will always be the best reward. Now, I have to say I am not a good writer, especially for D&D characters. I usually just bounce ideas off my roommate, who's one of the people that I play with, until I kind of get like a cohesive story together. Then I send it to my DM and make sure it's all good. But this time I'm doing this all by myself, and it took me a while to even think of anything. So, this is all I have for the story, but there's still a lot of runtime, so I'm just gonna let this play with some music, and then I'll come back at the end. See you there. Alright, I'm back, and since we're near the end of the video, I just wanted to get some thoughts and opinions. I want to make more YouTube videos, but I'm not really sure what people want to see from me specifically. I know what I want to make, which is mostly like D&D content and original character stuff, but I also like making fan art and doing challenges. I'm planning on doing like all of that, but I also wanted to get some opinions before I go all out on something, just in case maybe that's not what people wanted to see from me, but I don't know. Anyways, since I'm about to wrap up this video, if you have any name ideas for this character, let me know in the comments, because if there is one thing I suck at more than making backstories, it's coming up with characters' names. Like, I am so bad at it, you have no idea. I could pick, like, maybe the most liked name in the comments, or I can make a poll, we'll see. Anyway, that's all for me today. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.